Welcome to BergKnifemaking.com and DIY Easy Crafts. Today we're going to take a look at how to make cast resin flame knife handles. Now this project, or this video, is basically a proof of concept. I started out by sketching the exact size of the knife handle mold that I had, and then sketching flames. What I came up with was a design that allowed one color in the middle, one color on the base or the bottom of the mold, and a different color on the top of the mold. I could move that up and back so I could have a longer base color or a longer top color. I then went and I cast some resin right in my regular knife mold, my knife handle mold, and I cut out each of those flames. I cut out 2 of them so I can do a set at a time. And then I made a little mold, and I poured silicone mold casting material, right on top of those flame mold plugs. And I let that dry overnight. There's a big learning curve with these. The first was that I didn't glue down the entire cutout of the flames, and I actually broke one of the arms getting that mold off of the casting. So in the future, I gotta glue those down a little bit better, and maybe the length of the flames was a little bit too long and skinny, so I may modify the actual design a little bit. I used TotalBoat.com's Thick Set resin for this project. No relevance to the resin that I used, but for this particular project, I had a hard time getting that resin out of the silicone mold. It just wouldn't release, and I've never had that before. I'm thinking maybe it, again, is that those long, skinny flames. I don't usually have to use mold release spray in the silicone molds, but for whatever reason, really had a difficult time getting these flames out of the silicone mold. I eventually got them out, and I didn't even damage the mold in doing so. But what I've realized at this point is that these flames are kind of thin height-wise. The casting that I made was not the full thickness of my regular knife mold. So in the future, when I do this again, I'm definitely going to make them a little bit thicker, so that that center flame actually sticks up level or above the level of my existing knife handle mold. Anyway, back to the casting. I poured, again, TotalBoat Thick Set resin in. I used orange for the middle flames. I used yellow for the bottom, and I added some orange to it, and then I kind of mixed it together. I was trying to get some different color variations going on. And this first attempt worked out pretty decent. The colors I kind of liked. Not too much of that yellow or orangish now resin seeped underneath that resin flame in the middle and got to the front end. I was able to pour the black resin, which is kind of the base color. And at least visually, it all looked like this was going to be a one-shot deal and be successful. And that, of course, was not the case. I waited, I guess, 3 days to take this casting out of the molds, and then when I cleaned it up, and I cleaned it up just on a 2x72 grinder, I found that the connection, or where the colors meet, the 2 different colors meet, there was a lot of little white spots. And it took me a while to figure out why, but when I cut out these flames on the pin saw, I never really cleaned that rough edge. So those white spots are actually like powder from the saw, cutting the resin. So the next attempt, I cleaned up the edge with a Dremel grinder, some sandpaper, and then I also washed those flames completely with rubbing alcohol, and then I let them dry before pouring the resin again. So again, I poured this time an orange thick set resin, but that middle flame kind of lifted off the bottom of my mold, and I got some resin that flowed all the way through to the top. Not a big deal. I just went back to the pin saw and I recut out the top of that of those flames. So it's, again, so far looking really good. I put that back in the mold and I poured my my black thick set resin. I waited another 3 days. The benefit of this resin is it's thin and it takes a long time to set, so therefore bubbles don't get trapped. The downside is if you're impatient, you go a little bit crazy because it really takes 2 or 3 days before you can demold. I experimented with putting some red on top of the orange. I wasn't real happy with the red, and I actually ended up grinding that away later. Waited, again, like I said, about 3 days. I was able to demold that. Again, I would go back to the 2x72 grinder and just clean up the surface a little bit. And this is the end result. So I think that the proof of concept is there. I'm not real happy with the colors, but I don't have any of those little white spots. The overall scales look really nice. I like the orange better than I like the red. But you can do these in any colors. I mean, I might make blue flames, with just different variations of blue. I'm going to redesign the mold. I'm going to make the thickness a little bit thicker than my existing scale mold. And I'm going to make the arms of these flames a little bit shorter. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this short little video. If you did, I ask that you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thank you very much.